to know your places. Never stray from your places. Always stay in your life and know your places.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? The Ricky Harris here, coming to you loud, live, and in color for my Places Pick of the Week. This week, I am talking to the good brother WJC, and I'm excited to have him and hear what he has to say about theater as it begins to revolutionize the America. So let's give it up for Wardell Julius Clark. WJC in the house.
Hey Bishop, how you doing? How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Listen, it is good to see you as well. First of all, I just want you to tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do here in the Chicagoland area? Go.
Yeah, I am a actor, director, producer, theater practitioner, and social justice activist.
Pretty much a little bit of everything.
Yes, yes.
Uh, which I love. Now we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. My first question is, what are you personally bringing to this revolution of theater that is happening? What are some of your personal goals that you see that you want to see happen, and what are some of your like bigger global goals that you see for the theater community happening?
Some of my personal goals are uh, facilitating facilitating energy that allows for white people to cede space of power. And what I mean by that is, while we continue to uplift and hopefully reinvest in our own theaters and create more of our own theaters, is that we also begin to take over some of the white spaces that we've given our hearts and our souls and our minds and our monies to for decades, if not hundreds of years. They are ours too. The Black, Indigenous, people of color, the LGBTQI community has invested in white institutions for hundreds of years without a return on our investments in a real way. And so, what I'm hoping happens in this revolutionary moment that we are in is that white people cede power and they make space for all of us that do not look like them to create truly revolutionary art. Our art is the best. The marginalized people's art is the best. And we're not saying that white people don't have a place in that they don't have stories to tell. They have places in our stories, but as a function of our stories, as we have been a function of theirs. Um, and the second question was, globally, I think that is also happening. And in every sector of America at this moment, there's a reckoning happening
Yeah.
with whiteness, and I'm excited about that.
And I always feel like Chicago is always a leader in what happens in theater. And
Truly, we are the theater capital of the country. This is true.
yeah. So question is, what can artists, current artists that are here now, what can they do to be a part of the movement?
Great question. What can artists do now? I would say be in touch with the movements as they're happening. There are coalitions forming. There are most people saw the "We See You, White American Theater" that 300 of I now like to call my closest long distance friends, most of whom I have never met, who I honor and can't believe I'm on the same list with, who come together as a collective to ask for very real change. To, if you haven't like signed that petition, join that petition. There will be more levels to that. That is not that the letter is just the first iteration. There will be very specific things that are coming. There are coalitions that are forming here in Chicago. I would say to follow those on social media to be aware of, because there are going to be more ask made. There are going to be more specific demands made. You know, the thing that's happening right now as we fight the epidemic of police brutality on the streets every day. You know, Black Lives Matter, which is founded about police brutality, like, you know, that is the epicenter, like, you know, that is the epicenter symptom of white supremacy in this country, but it reverberates in all the ways. And what we're doing right now in the artist community is, like I like to say, taking our little corner of the sky and choosing to represent that as well. So particularly all artists, all white artists, speak out and support your fellow Black, Indigenous people of color who are telling the truth about their journey. And yeah, and Black folks and anybody else who's looking how to be active, there is a myriad of ways to be active right now. You have to look no further than Google and the internet to find, like, if it's simply like being at one of the theaters that is taking supplies to give to protesters. If you know, if you're immunocompromised and you don't feel safe being out in the protest, which is absolutely fine. I would judge no one who chooses not to be outside. There is still a pandemic happening that is that is disproportionately killing Black people. So if Black people choose to not be out there protesting for whatever reason, there's no judgment in that. But there are many ways to get involved. There are many things to do. Also, just amplify what you see on social media. It has the power to actually do good. And also, I would say, and I know people think, and I can say this to you, Ricky, because you're my friend and my Virgo brother. You know, people have a tendency to think that there are things that are happening because of the ego base, and for self whatever. Like, while I am a face of the movement, in that, like, someone once asked me to be on a TV show because of the work that I had done. But all of this is a result of the work that I've done, because I asked for this diligently. For like literally 2 years straight, I've been calling for revolution through my art. So like, it is not an ego personal thing for me. I am doing this for the collective, for the good of all of us. I am one of many. You know that phrase where, like, I come as one, but we stand as 10,000. You know what I mean? Hundreds of millions of the ancestors, but I just want people to know, because you asked what can they do, is that by amplifying the work, by telling their truths, by telling their experiences of racism in this theater, it only, like, you know, the rug is lifted and all the roaches are coming out, baby. All the roaches are coming out. They are, they are being, and it's time. We've told it's from Hollywood to Broadway and Chicago, the epicenter of the world, from the improv community to the dance community, in every single industry. The truth is being told about how white supremacy has existed. So one thing people can do is just tell your truth. I can't imagine you being a person of color, a queer person, in any industry, or you have not received some racism and some misogyny and some homophobia and one of the isms. I can't imagine. You know what I mean? I can't imagine that you haven't. So tell your truth and choose your way to get involved, and then start to think about how you're going to generate your own artist work. Now is the time that the country is ripe for new artist work and stories. Like, we about to get to work, baby. We got things to tell, and it ain't all gonna be about the oppression no more. We're gonna tell about the stories now about liberation and freedom, however we want to tell it.
I love it. And it makes me think of, like, some of these younger artists who are just now coming out of school, so who are going to be new to the professional scene, and really, how can we help usher them in to the movement in a way where they feel secure in talking about what they go through? Because, I mean, if you've been through any BFA or MFA program here in the city, like,
you've gone through some stuff.
You've gone through some stuff, and just giving them that opportunity to open up and talk about it. But these artists have not had roles yet. They have not had a prominent career in the city. They have not, been in front of great directors yet. Do you feel like their stories are just as important as, you and I, who have been around for a while?
I have been an actor since I was 4 years old. Fortunate enough to work in mostly inner cities up until high school. I have stories and have had stories my entire life. Every story of every young artist of color, of a marginalized community, is valuable. you know, and it's hard to encompass all marginalized communities, right? Because we talk about the by indigenous people of color, we talk about the LGBTQI community, but then we have to include our disabled brothers and sisters, or our differently able brothers and sisters. There are many marginalized, left out communities that do not exist under the white heteronormative banner that everything operates from. Like the derivatives underneath that of differences are so vast, and we never actually talk about them. It's always oh my God, there's a differently able person who's like playing an instrument on stage at the Goodman, and it's the best thing since sliced bread. It shouldn't be an anomaly. It should be a normal. Differently able people are artists and are full human beings and have great skills to offer. So like I think the people coming out of school, the people who are new to that, can absolutely tell their stories, should tell their stories, probably have these experiences that are either whiteness centric, white supremacy centric, and or patriarchal centric. Like, people say this all the time, and Ike Holder said this at the protests at VG. There is not a person of color who has not experienced racism in some way in their lifetime. There is not a woman who has not experienced sexism in some way in her lifetime. Every white person is racist at some point because it is inherent. Every man is misogynistic at some point because we have learned that, and we have to de-learn that. It does nothing for any of us to not tell the truth about us having to deprogram our misogyny and racism. If men as a collective, regardless of race, have to admit that and have had that kind of reckoning through the Me Too and Time's Up movement, I think white people now have to have that reckoning about white supremacy and racism. And young people just out of school, and even if you don't have a career, there's a story that you need to tell. I'm really inspired by the young Black people at DePaul who are not even graduated yet, who are very much a part of the movement. That spray painting thing, America Theater is Dead, that was up at VG. Some of my young Black students at DePaul did that because, and they have like this Black Theater Artists Alliance group at DePaul. And like, we didn't have that because I was the only Black male in my BFA program when I was at school. Like I like to call it in the early second Bush years. So like, they are galvanized, like the Black Lives Matter programs that are happening outside in the world are already happening in arts programs. And like allies, co-conspirators, if you notice that shit is wrong, yeah, I said shit. If you notice that shit is wrong, and you want to be a part, where, I assume that they'll take the the Malcolm X doctrine after he came back from Mecca. Like, you may not be able to necessarily like join us in that way, but we will take your help if you're down for the cause. So then like, find a way to help. Like, there is no help too small. Driving a car is not too small. Buying somebody a massage is not too small. There are many ways to help. Black people are out here on the front lines. There are people who are organizing, who need help in all different ways. Do your part. Every part matters. And movements take years, and we just getting started.
Just getting started. I love it. So after many years of theaters, not getting it right, and we as Black artists having to teach them about their injustices, and give them the opportunities to get it right. Can theaters get it right, or is it too late? Or are we of the mindset, we should not have to tell you this, you should already know? Can theaters still get it right to make themselves better during this time of revolution?
I'm pausing on purpose. I'm not froze.
Because there's always that one side of, you'll hear the argument, well, because I said that, that's why you guys are making that change.
Which is true often.
And I'm like, well, what can theaters do now so we actually will believe them that they really want to be a part of this revolution, and that we will know that they're about business?
What I said earlier, put your money where your mouth is. Actually do the work. Don't, like, The solidarity statement is not enough. Sharing the "we see you" meme is not enough. Like you like hire more of us to give consulting and counseling, but don't just hire us. Give up your fucking jobs. Your time is up. That's what you can actually do, and I mean that in a very real way.
Yeah.
Most of these white leaders, like particularly the men, your time is up. And I won't be so direct in this interview because I do want it to reach the masses to call them out by names in the Chicago theater. But there are many of you who, in this moment, who is not producing for the next 5, 6 months, need to put plans and actions to seed your seats of power to people of color and to women and to femme-bodied people to lead us into the next generation. That's what just has to happen. I would be totally comfortable with mostly women and women of color running all major theater institutions moving forward. Men, particularly, are we like and as a black man, I would love. I would love to be afforded the opportunity to even begin to try to run an institution in the way that many white men and women have ran and failed them for decades and still been rewarded and able to keep them. It is quite amazing to me that they are consistently rewarded for less than mediocre effort, and that is sadly the truth. Numbers, boards, those things lie. I've talked with people over the past weeks as we're in this movement, and you look at seasons and season planning. We know the shows that people talk about, we know the shows that get buzz, and yet we see these whole seasons that are programmed, and I want to go to sleep reading the press announcement. There are young people, there are people with ideas who actually know how to do this work to galvanize the theater community and the Chicago community at large. But the folks at the top aren't really doing that right now. They're invested in old money and old ideas. And that is not the wave of the future because we will simply stop going. And we know that the black dollar is the most powerful dollar in the American economy. If we pull the black dollar out, they shut down.
Yeah.
So what they can do, the question was, what can they do in this moment? Put their money where their mouth is. Seed power. Give it over. Because the truth of the matter is, at this moment, as we see exposés from Griffin Matthews posts about how Broadway is racist, to Amber Riley calling out Leah Michelle in Hollywood,
Yeah.
like there is not a one of you who does not have one of these stories. And either you tell it yourself, have some contrition about it, do the actual work of learning it, or we will do it ourselves. And I understand this is a very revolutionary idea, but the fact of the matter is that is what's happening in the universe. That is what the collective conscious allies and black folks and people of color have decided in this moment. So what you can do is actually put your money where your mouth is. Seed power, make space where there is no space, where there has never been space. And I don't mean in the second position to tell you, the white person in charge, what to do so I can write the letter, so I can do the thing. Yeah, I'm a company member at Timeline Theater. I love Timeline Theater. I love the people who work there. I think they are some of the more well-meaning white people who have an idea about what it should look like and are really committed to that. However, it's still an ultimately really white theater company. And there is going to come a point where the heads of all the departments can no longer be white. That's one of the major things at all these theaters. That it can't just be the head of education, that's the black part, department, or the head of community outreach, that's the black person and the person of color. Like, oh, we got a woman casting director now. We got a woman AD for the first time, but she's still a white woman. Like that. And there's things in place and things we have to do. I don't care about your infrastructure. I don't care about how difficult it may be to rearrange. You know why? Because it's difficult for me to put my black ass body on the line 8 times a week and tell the truth about my humanity, and still you've refused to see me for 400 years. So I don't care how difficult it is. You say you're about the work, you say you're about undoing the work, so actually do it. And that's a challenge to all of them. Actually do it, because the day is going to come where we're going to call it out. You know, people think we're on social media and bullying and being angry and pointing out this person and that person. No, the chickens are coming home to roost. All the ancestors told us. James Baldwin told us, it's taking my father's time, it's taking his father's time, it's taking his father's time. How much time do you need for your progress? It's 2020. You want, how can you help? You can help. Do the actual work. Fuck a post of solidarity. Get inside. Say, we fucked up. We cater to white people. It's comfortable for us. We don't know what will happen. We don't know what audiences we may lose, but we're dedicated to doing work that is actually about what we say we are about. And it ain't shucking and jiving over your stages. It ain't kumbaya. It's the truth. We can entertain and tell the truth.
Oh, wow. That is very true. And I think it's more like being just artists and designers. Yeah, we need to be in those administrative positions. We need to get on these boards. And like a lot of things that I see now is like companies are worried because board members might go. Board members might not be around.
Bye. Bye. If you're not interested in the, you know why? Because when we try to diversify boards, you know what happens? The board members of color also leave because they're sick of seeing the token show in the season. Why would they give $1 million, $500, $10,000, $5,000 if they're only relegated to the one black and brown play, the one queer play? Why when everything else is the same shit we've been seeing for 400 years on American stages? I'm not interested in that. And most of the time it's boring and mediocre at best. Even some of the best actors and best directors put up mediocre white work that nobody really cares about seeing and no one really talks about, and it doesn't catch the zeitgeist of what's actually happening in the community. I'm not saying there's not a place for them, but do better. Do better. We all can do better. And it's not that I'm like excellent. I have achieved a certain kind of excellence because I insist on what the audience wants to feel and see. Everybody's caught up in what they're doing and how it looks like. Fuck all of that. Are you affecting somebody? Are you making somebody feel something? People be doing boring. Ricky, you know we see these plays. You go, and how many plays don't you places recommend? Because it's just boring. It's absolutely boring and white. And it's just not, it's an aesthetic, and it's like a story that like 12 people care about, and the old elderly subscribers, which they need to have a place. I am not saying relegate them. But they have a place, and that place is not the predominant place anymore.
Yeah, it's very true. I told you about a theater company where we, our show, All Black Cast, made the most money for that theater company in their over 35 years of history. So it goes to show our stories are what people want to see, and they'll pay for it.
And they will pay for it. I mean, you know, and they'll see them in any version. Like I always talk about, I've been preaching revolution for a long time. The first play I directed was Insurrection Holding History by Robert O'Hare. That play is a wild play that puts roots with The Wizard of Oz, with In Living Color. But I talk about the revolution, I think like people forget. Like, you know, people were talking about rioting and looting and burning buildings. I said, you know, this is about the Nat Turner slave revolt. Like it's a doll, but I ripped a white baby in half at the end of that play, symbolically with red ribbons to show this 200 years ago. This is how our ancestors would get to go free. Do you think because we're more educated and we live in a modern world that we won't use our words and our actions to do the same kind of freedom? If that's what it takes, that's what, not in a literal sense, but in terms of our intellect, in the terms of how we move and operate, we will take the same kind of active energy measures to get our freedom. And they need to understand that.
Amen. Well,
I feel like it's what day is it? Wednesday? It's supposed to be choir rehearsal tonight, but I feel like we might be in Bible study or church. I don't know. You tell me. You're in Bible study. It's Bible study tonight. It's Bible. We in Bible study. You know, I got a word. And
Oh yes.
I feel it's true. That's why I'm speaking this way. I feel it's true. I do a lot of interviews and I have to say a lot of different things in a lot of different ways, depending on, I'm always aware of my audience. But when I come to a brother and a friend who has always particularly highlighted good work and Black work, and a collaborator who I've worked with, we created a masterpiece of a show last season, Hoodoo Love. I feel honored to be able to tell the truth about this stuff, because this is just the moment we in. And if people choose to listen, they can be better. Like the society is not above unsaving. They just have to vibrate higher. They have to stop considering themselves and consider the collective, consider what's best for the collective. And we know as an American society, we have been awful to Black people.
Amen.
We can all admit to that. So we all can admit to just starting to recalibrate that, to rebalance that in everywhere, to learn to actually read the books. Don't get so caught, oh, I got this business meeting today or this business. You know what's still there? White Fragility, that book that you bought from Amazon. That book that you bought on Audible, that work that you say you're doing, that one article that you read today. Forget the programming, forget what you got to do for your job. Do the work on yourself, and then the work that you need to do for the job will become clearer. You'll be less stressed about it once you understand what you're actually trying to fix and rectify.
Yes. So now, as Victory Garden moves forward,
Let's turn to the New Testament.
as they move forward, what are we looking for them to do? Because now they have open positions.
Yes.
And our hope is that they'll be more transparent this time in how they go about finding. Do you think that they will? You think they'll get it right? Oh,
I don't know. I find it ultimately unuseful to be unnecessarily pessimistic when a new opportunity presents itself. I think that we are at a changing place, and the acknowledgement either by Erica and Steve that this was not going to work in this version. I think Che Yu's work, objectively, just as a theater consumer, grew Victory Gardens in a variety of ways the past 9 years, no matter how he came in, how he went out. Those 9 years of his work and expanding the type of work that the Playwrights Theater did, the exciting shows that I saw there, being able to be a teaching artist and an actor there. It was thrilling and exciting because we didn't have many regional mid-sized theaters who was doing that. I felt I first debuted there with the great Tony Award winner Andre DeShields in 2011 as a part of Dennis Zacek's last season, directed by Chuck Smith. So my history with Victory Gardens goes back a decade. And getting to share that stage with literally a Black theater living legend, directed by a Chicago directing legend in Chuck Smith, So I feel personally invested in Victory Gardens in a way, having been employed there and having a show scheduled to be there at the top of next year with my brother Ike Holter. So and I've said this in the press before, I am cautiously optimistic that they will at least do a national search in the long term for the best person for that job, and to understand the same way they found Che for both of those positions, so that whatever specific issues may be having at that institution, like most large institutions, like There's always a deficit of money and audience and programming and those things. But I am willing positive energy to that institution that I love, that I look forward to making art at again. That is a safe space uh, for people of color, for all marginalized people, and for the Chicago community at large. That the board will do what they need to do to ensure that they move forward. They understand that this was an error in judgment, and that they can actively like take accountability and move forward in a way that is positive. There are many of us who have ideas for how that works. So we're not hard to find. We're very open and vocal about how that could work. Um, but I do hope that they, get it right. For me, as I've done a lot of spiritual work through this quarantine, right and wrong and good and bad are all relative terms on the human plane that exist on Earth, based on usually what some white men decided they were and was good for the country or society at a time. So for me, I try to take our own good base morality of never dishonoring the true humanity in each other. Even if we tell the truth about each other, people get disrespect and rudeness and callousness are confused with truth, which is also another form of love. Tough love is also another form of love. So me telling you the truth about yourself is not necessarily hateful or rude. And I think I really think that's the energy I'm going to send towards them, and hoping that they do the right thing, as it were, in the relative sense of the right thing. In my revolutionary Malcolm X pre-Mecca Marcus Garvey says to do the right thing. I say they all step down, and then we have a voting body that puts people of color in all those positions, and let's see what we can do with programming. I guarantee you that next season will be flames and fire, because there are enough of us to do all those jobs and put on a great season with the support. That's the thing. Black people can do any of these jobs and we actually do them. We're just spread out across 8,000 theaters in the country, working for different white institutions. Yeah. We can do all these jobs and half the time better. I'm sorry if that hits some of them in the chest, but it's just the truth. Black excellence is a real thing, and we are tired of hiding it and trying to coddle it and hold it in because of view of how you feel about it. Whatever the opposition is, we have to live our truth. It's literally in the soul of the earth. That is not our problem. That is our joy and our blessing and our abundance. And we're going to walk in it right now.
Hello,
what's next? Come on, I'm preaching today. I'm on the word.
Now, how much is your consulting fee if theaters want to bring you in? So, WJC, how are you doing? How are you handling this pandemic?
The pandemic was fine for me. I like I said, I did a lot of spiritual work. Really, 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 really trying to connect to everything living. Understanding. We are Southern Christians, Ricky. You and I. We have a very specific kind of understanding of Jesus and God and rules and sin and all that stuff, which half of it we rejected very early on, but held on to the part that was true for us, that connects us to that we know is true. And take the words of the white man in those books with a grain of salt. But at this quarantine for me, I've really delved deep into some esoteric understanding that connects with God, and just the understanding of that has really put me in a place of groundedness. It's unsure at times, because it's like once you take the lid off, once you really become awakened to higher consciousness, it's hard to kind of go back. It's hard to not look at someone and tell them the truth of who they are, and or look at yourself in the mirror and tell you the truth of who you are, and actually be able to really deal with that in a real way. But that's what the quarantine has been for me. Work has ebbed and flown. A lot of the things that I was stressed and worried about pre-quarantine, I'm not as much anymore. I do in a real way feel that I am walking in pure abundance and the love of and spirit of God and the ancestors. And so I don't have much worry because I know for a fact that there are no coincidences in God's world. You can call it God or the universe or, you know, the thing before the Big Bang or the energy that was before the thing before the Big Bang. We all know that to be God, which is bigger than a gender, that energy. I know that we are all a part of that. Like we're literally all a part of that. We are all God. That's what souls are. And for me, knowing that allows me to like do my work intentionally. Despite the pandemic, wanting people to be well, wanting people to be good. You know, everything happens for a reason. There are absolutely no coincidences. And like just that little tiny bit of understanding, the same amount that if you had the faith of a mustard seed, you can
Come
move
on.
mountains. You know what I mean? That same bit of understanding about my connection to the whole of everything, like the everything living to everything inanimate and like with the energy that exists inside that and just like I'm good and I'm happy. I'm happy and I'm ready for what's coming next. I'm energized. There are days that tire me out because I'm in human form, you know, and it's hard to keep telling white people, see me, listen to me. This is not personal. I'm just right. We're just right. You know, it's hard to keep saying that over and over again. It makes me very sad. There are days when I do cry about it. I'm like you know, I don't think many people know this, or maybe they do. Maybe I think it's just a secret to me. But I'm a deeply sensitive person. I'm a deeply, deeply sensitive person, and everything affects me. But I feel like my social media presence is very like rah rah rah, like, and in a way it is, but like it is my divine dichotomy, and so like it is. I feel good. I have the thing is, and the thing that you asked me earlier that I didn't say that I wanted to say about young people and how they can get involved. Be fearless.
Mm.
There are two choices of which every other choice derives from, and that is either love or fear. So be fearless. Choose love in absolutely everything because that's all there is, actually. Love is actually all there is. There is no black, white, Asian, Latinx, any other demographic, queer, straight, asexual. We're all literally one and many tiny derivatives of that.
Yeah.
So choose love. And tough love ain't comfortable. Truth is often very uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
if you choose love and not fear, you continue to move forward. You can continue to evolve. That thing that a lot of our communities say, vibrate higher, evolve higher, is because we're choosing love and not fear. I can tell the truth to anybody on TV. I can call out the president. You know, I can be harassed by the Klan. My phone can go off an hour a day with these people harassing me. I have no fear. I'm not worried about my safety because I'm choosing love. I'm telling you the truth, and it's hard to hear.
Yeah.
You know, the quarantine's fine for me right now. I'm like, you know, holed up doing some work and like just sending love to all my people and just trying to, you know, we in the midst of the revolution.
Hello. So, Wardell, where is the first place you want to go once we are fully open? Pandemic is over. Where are we? Where do you want to go?
Cabo San Lucas.
Come on.
I want a Moscow Mule with bourbon and a Mai Tai under a large umbrella on a clothing optional beach in Cabo. That's what I want.
I love it.
Has
And
nothing to do with work. Has
oh,
absolutely nothing. That you ask me what I want, that's what I want. Not
yes,
only do I want that, I desire that, and sometime by the end of the year, I am going to get that. I am going to Cabo before the end of the year. There's a thing about words, right? Because the universe responds to words, and words are powerful. So oftentimes we talk about what we want, and when we say what we want, all that does is put us in a state of want. So I say, I want this thing, I want that thing. And the universe responds, well, yeah, you want that. So you
right,
want that. That doesn't allow you to get it. So I desire to be
yes,
on a beach in Cabo San Lucas with a Moscow Mule and a Mai Tai on an optional clothing beach. I will be traveling to Cabo San Lucas before the end of the year to get a vacation. Words are powerful, so we have to be very intentional in how we say things because we are, like I said, our souls are God, so what we say becomes true. So we have to be very careful about intention. So that is what I desire, and that is what will be happening quarantine. And then I want to get back to work. I desire to hug my friends. I'm gonna hug my friends, and we gonna get back into it. Like it's time
yeah,
to get back. Like I'm ready to see y'all and do the thing we do best.
yeah,
And we gonna party too. We gonna party like it's 2020 again.
baby. And final question: what is your favorite in the know YouTube/live show?
Places.
I just gotta ask.
You
Thank
know.
you. Friend.
Thank you for it. I was like, is this a trick question? I only have one answer. Like this, I don't understand.
You got it right. That was it.
Thank you.
I think it's safe to say now. Wardell has been in many a production that has been places recommended, but this is the first time I believe that you yourself, solo Wardell Julius Clark, is officially places recommended.
Recommended. Yes. Thank you so much, Ricky. You are my brother and my friend, a fantastic artist and a fantastic host. I
Yeah.
appreciate the opportunity, the work that you and Breon do in this platform. Whether 5 see it or 5 million see it, it is valuable. It is good. More spaces where we're highlighted and celebrated are necessary. And I wish you all the best, my brother.
To know your places, never stray from your places. Always stay in your life and know your places.